Welcome back, Pirate Crew. It's your captain, Yeehaw Yadam, and for today's video, we're going to be looking at none other than Kuro. Kuro is the new East Blue-Green leader that comes out in Pillars of Strength, and he's got a couple of really interesting things. What he doesn't have is many tops in the East, so I'm not expecting him to be exceptionally strong, but he has a really interesting ragtag group of pirates with him that is sure to rest your opponent IRL. So, with that being said, let's look at this funky little version of the deck that I've built. I couldn't find any decks to base this off of. I know there's a lot of videos of other people making their own Kuro decks, but without real tournament results, I didn't really want to use anyone else's deck, so I wanted to go ahead and try to brew something myself. Now, did I brew? I don't know. I don't think I really cooked with this one, ladies and gentlemen, but we're going to go ahead and see what this deck has to offer, and let's see what we're working with. So I maxed out on all of the good East Blue Pirates. I decided, well, I'm going to max out on them, and probably that's kind of where I want to start off with. And then what else did I do? Just shoving Supernovas. Innovative. So for the East Blue Pirates, we have Jin. Jin, besides being the craziest looking alt art in this set, by the way, if you haven't seen the alt art for Jin, do yourself a favor and look it up. It looks... but yeah, the card is a 4 mana 5k, so stat line's pretty cool. He's a striker, which is not slash, so that's pretty good. And he has a really solid on-play effect. If your leader has the East Blue archetyping, rest up to 2 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So he's like Neko Mamushi, but bigger, but in one card. But he's like 2 Neko Mamushis if they stood on top of each other and wore a trench coat. That's Jin, right? Obviously, he doesn't have the 6k power stat line, but maybe that would be too much for him. Either way, he allows you to deal with early aggression from your opponents, because oftentimes a lot of these aggressive decks will just go 1-drop, 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 pass, 1-drop, 1-drop, pass. They're not really swinging with them, so Jin can go ahead and just rest them, let you deal with them with your leader, while incorporating a 5k stat line. Now, is that good enough? Only time will tell, but I can tell you that his alt art's really nice. And the idea with Jin is that you kind of want to have your opponent rest their characters. You swing at them, so they want to swing at you, so that you can then use your Krieg, right? Krieg is a very generically powerful card. 6 mana 7k, so his stat line isn't the greatest, but his effect sure is. On play, you may trash 1 card from your hand, not archetype specific, dump whatever the heck you want, KO up to 2 of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 4 or less. Great. And if it wasn't good enough, we go even further beyond. The card says Dawn ×1, this card gains double attack. Crazy. So this card is outside of the jet pistol range because he's a 7k. He kind of has the double attack, which sure, didn't really need that. And he also has a tempo effect that he keeps the, he goes ahead and removes characters. You can like swing at a 3-costed Zoro, they dump a card from hand, and you're like Krieg, pop the Zoro, pop a Makino, and then you're like, ooh, that was pretty darn good. So really solid card. Big boy, can end games by himself, and especially if you combo him with Django. So the way that I've seen Kuro play is that though Django, this card is kind of like the bread and butter of the deck. He's a 5 mana 6k with no counter power, and now we're starting to see a trend of no counter power cards in the deck. And he states, on play, choose one of the following. So versatility, I love it. The first one, set up to one of your leader or characters with the East Blue typing with a cost of 6 or less as active. So if you put a lot of Dawn under your Kuro, and by a lot I mean 5, you put 5 Dawn on him and you can go 10, play Django 10, right? You can pretend that you're Eustace Captain Kidd. That's kind of cool. Or you can put Dawn under Krieg, make him like a 9k, and then you can go like double attack, restand, double attack. And you're like, that's 4 life, my guy. So really interesting little interaction by them that he just creates. And also he has another effect that says rest this character and up to 1 of your opponent's characters. No cost restrictions. So very rarely do we see a card that just says rest anything besides like Punk Gibson in life. So this is really interesting. You are paying 5 Dawn for it, but you get a pretty darn powerful effect, and you kind of turn your leader into a 6k because you rest a 6k that they're probably more often than not are going to try to attack. And we've got Nami. She's the searcher of the deck. Why is this Nami a 2-drop? Because she has the trigger effect. Sure. She has the exact same stat line as the 1-drop Nami, but it looks like when they were balancing the game, they thought that trigger is worth 1 Dawn. And is it? Again, Only time will tell. I feel like I'm not being too intuitive on these things. I'm just saying I have no idea. Maybe that's balanced. Maybe it's unbalanced. I don't know. With a limited amount of East Blue characters, this is probably very fine. And we've got Hatchan. Hatchan's just a generic 2k. He's a 4k attacker, which is kind of nice. And he also, in triggers in life, just summons, and he can just kind of just slash people down with his many limbs, which is really, really cool. And yeah, that's kind of it for the East Blue characters. Not much. Nami can basically pick up 1, 2, 3, 4. So 16 possible targets for the East Blue archetype. Could be better. Really good, but we got 16. And then we went ahead and just shoved in a Supernova package with cards that just say like Rest and KO, which I think would be necessarily good with cards like Jin and Django and Kuro's base effect, which we didn't go over, but we'll go over because very rarely comes up, but I guess it could. So we played our 3-drop killer, which knocked, KO 3 costs, and also is just generically good versus red. We're playing X-Drake, which KOs 4 drops, which is pretty good as well. We're also playing the Raizo because this deck desperately needs cards and wants to draw cards and do things. We're playing more resting cards because we love resting. We love sleeping. God, I don't know. I have no idea why I put Cat Viper and Raizo in this deck, but they're there because they're generically good green cards. We're playing 4 of Bonnie, 4 Oppos, 3 Punk Gibsons because we just gotta keep resting, and then we're playing 2 of the Eustace Captain Kid 8-drop because it's just a really good green card, and I'm hoping that my opponent just doesn't Flame Emperor me. I guess that's what we're praying on. And yeah, that's the deck. Let's see what this deck can do after we talk about Kuro. Sorry, I almost forgot about that. So Kuro says active main for 3 Dawn. Ooh-wee, that's a lot of Dawn, baby. You may rest 2 of your characters with East Blue type because obviously resting 3 is just not good enough. And then set this leader as active and rest 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. So I'm joking. He's not that bad. He's definitely trying to cosplay as the Eustace Captain Kid because he wants you to invest 7 Dawn into him, pay 3 for his effect, and then go 12-12, right? He's trying to cosplay as Eustace Captain Kid. Instead of using cards from hand, you're using board presence, which is ambitious to say the least. But yeah, not necessarily a bad effect. Lets you clear the board sometimes. If you have early East Blue characters like this Nami that you don't really care for, or this Hatchan, you can go ahead and rest them to rest one of their characters and use your board to deal with their board, which is kind of nice. So it's not necessarily a vanilla, but has a really not difficult, but very specific activation condition that I don't think will always continue to come up. Either way, let's go test out a game with him and hopefully he can prove me wrong and is a little better than what I think he is. Alright, so we're going to be playing versus the Crocodile, which has gotten a lot of steam. I've seen a lot of videos of the Crocinator in action, so I'm excited to see what my deck can necessarily do versus Croc. So, it's an interesting hand. It has the 8-drop, but it doesn't really do much more than that, so I'm going to go ahead and choose to mulligan. Not significantly better, but I'll take it. And I opted to make my opponent go first, right? So usually green into blue, this is a control match, and in control matches more often you want to go ahead and go second. He plays a Kaya, which is just going to let him cycle his hand. He pitches a Centomaru and a Law Blocker. Interesting. Going to go ahead and just pass. There's nothing really that I need to do at this point in time. I could have deployed the double Veggie, but I can just save it in hand for later when I have the Eustace Captain Kid, because my game plan this game is to just sit on this guy and win the game based off him, because blue still struggles to deal with Eustace. So if that's the case, let's use that to our advantage. He's going to go swing 8. Not a problem. I would have taken a 5. Now, I have a lot of Kriegs in my hand, which is not the East Blue character that I would like, but he's definitely the East Blue character that I've acquired. So we'll go ahead and see what we do from here. Yeah. Just waiting here. Just chilling. Doing some relaxing. He passed. So we're going to go ahead and draw a card here. Now, this card's pretty good. Just going to deploy this to rest that. We'll attack over the Kaya, and we'll pass turn. Nothing really that we need to do. We're just big chilling. The only card that we're truly scared of is the Centomaru. So as long as that card doesn't come down, and this is a card that we really, really wanted to get, because it's going to allow us to start getting our engine revved, right? So we're going to draw another Jin. I think I'm just going to go ahead and hard cast this and just pass. If we're going to do that, we should attack first. So we'll attack 5 at our opponent, see if he wants to block with the Kuma, summon a Pacifista. If that's the case, I mean, sure. But not something that I'm, again, too afraid of. So if we just get a couple of turns at dealing with his board, we should be absolutely fine. Now, Jin seems to be like the card you really want to see. This card and Django are like the East Blue characters that are just very solid. My opponent is deciding whether he wants to block or not. I mean, personally, I wouldn't block this. I would just take the life, go down to 4 is perfectly fine. We'll see what he opts to do instead. He opts to take the life, and he may have gotten a trigger. Oh, he got the sword. Now, the sword's going to take the Nekomamushi, which that was a little preemptive, because I'm going to go ahead and deploy this and pass my turn. He probably wanted to keep the sword in hand for a better character, as he's seeing that my turns are just pass, pass, pass. He could have just held that card in his hand. But, I mean, a card that you don't have to cast is always really, really nice, so I can't blame him on that one. So we'll see what he goes ahead and does after this. He goes ahead and plays a Crocodile and swings at me for 5. I will take it again. Draw. I am at 8 Dawn. I will just go 5 at lead. See what he does with the 5. He combos, and I'm going to just deploy an 8-drop and pass. And yeah, this doesn't look very innovative, but my goodness, is that still very effective? He's going to play Kaya. Kaya's going to let him draw 2. He's going to cycle out a Love Beam as well as a Pacifista. This is very interesting. He's going to swing at me for a big number. Swings at me for 8. You got it, boss. I'm going to trigger this to rest the Kuma. Now, he can't lethal me. If he wants to give me my last life, that's perfectly fine as well. I'm just going to tear apart his board. Goes for 10. I'll take it. Yep, I'll summon it. Yep, I'll grab it. Cool. That was kind of nice. So we'll draw some Dawn here and we'll start clearing the board. We'll swing 9 at 7. He gives me a Love Beam. We'll go... Django can rest one carry. Man, this card can restand Krieg. Holy guacamole. And Krieg can come down and just destroy both of these, right? With a cost of 4 less, I'm going to destroy this. Can't destroy this. So I probably want to summon some blockers here. Maybe this card. There's a lot of things that we want to do here. Our turn is pretty darn good. We just want to make sure that we somewhat deal with this guy. So I'm just trying to get as many cards out of his hand as possible. Swing here. Swing here. He lets it go, summons a Pacifista. That's absolutely fine with me. And still a lot of things that we can do with our turn, right? You know, we could Django. That's 5. We've only used 1 Dawn. And then we'll swing over this. Gives me his whole hand. And we'll double deploy. And we'll pass. And we'll see what he does with that. With 1 card in hand, he's going to have to top deck very, very well here. We don't necessarily have 2 blockers. He can always just go ahead and like bounce one of them. We don't really have many 2Ks in our hand either. So we got to be very careful on what we do here. So he's going to swing for 9. And that's going to force us to probably go ahead and block, right? Because he's going to just bounce a blocker. If we do that, do we lose him? We might. 9 at 8, man. If I have a 2K, why would you do that? I don't think I've used a single 2K. It's a weird number to hit me with. I guess I want to keep this. I don't need 2 of this. I don't need this either, because this will just do that. So he's going to bounce one of them, and then he has 6 Dawn available, and then I can just block a hit. So I think I do this. Get a -4 to bounce a blocker. Yep. That's fine. We'll just summon it next turn. Gonna place 3. And then he's gonna go 10. We can go ahead and block this as well. And now we just destroy him. I mean, we can even, funnily enough, go for lethal because of because of Krieg. We can just attach a Dawn, and or attach 2 Dawn, go 9, 9, right? Ooh, man, it's so crazy. That's 7 Dawn, then we have 3 left with, and we go 5, 6. Can we even get screwed out of life there? I don't even think we can. I think we just have lethal on the board. Now, surely we can attack, and then he can't really do anything. But is that cool? I don't think so. I don't think that's very cool. Unless it is. That's probably the safer way to win this game. But I think I'm going to do the cool version. I'm going to go swing 9 at leader. Deploy, restand. 9 at leader. That's really cool. So it gives me 1, give me 2. Sure, boss. And GG. Yeah, opponent has disconnected. So that was a really interesting game that showed off just how powerful the Django and Krieg are. And unfortunately showed how good the A-drop is into blue. So there really wasn't much to learn there. But as you can see, there are some really nice interactions in the East blue deck. There just might not be enough good interaction. Obviously, this is a very basic build. I couldn't find any really like topping Kuro decks, so I had to really just brew this up myself. There's obviously probably better versions of this, but this guy felt really good, and this guy felt really good. And if we can make a deck that can just make these guys do their thing, we're probably in a good spot. So I hope you guys liked this video. Make sure to leave a like down below if you did. A comment if you think that we can improve on this deck. I know that some of you may have tried this leader out and have found a little bit more spicier sauce to do with him. And as always, guys, if you are enjoying this content and haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.